Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome. Today we are going to invade Okinawa as the US forces in World War II. We're going to play SGS Pacific D-Day's Okinawa game. This was released about 2 months ago, and it's the 11th game in their SGS series of games. Now, other games in here, just in case you're interested, are the Korean War. There's a bunch on the Pacific Island campaigns. We've got a World War I game, some North African games, one that's coming up in the month of January called SGS Taipings, which is about the China's largest civil war. So a bunch of different games in this series, and they seem to be cranking them out about every 3 months or so. We're going to jump into their latest game here, which is the Okinawa game. Now, this is a big game. 42 turns. It's going to take us a number of episodes to play this. We're going to take on the U.S. forces and see if we can do as well or better than the U.S. forces did in real life. So with that in mind, we're going to jump in here and we're going to start a new game. Now, there's two options. We can play the shooty line scenario, but we're going to play Okinawa 1945, Operation Iceberg, the whole game. And in this episode, we're going to go through some of kind of the beginning circumstances, talk a little bit about the options. We're going to show kind of some of the basics about how the game works, play the first turn, and that should set us up nicely for continuing on with the series in the next episode. So let's start the game right now. Now I'm playing, there are 3 difficulty levels. The middle difficulty level is called the advanced level, and that's the level we're going to play at. So as we start the game and we jump into the scenario here, we get some contextual background for Operation Iceberg, the invasion of Okinawa, fought beginning of April all the way through June of 1945. Now, this was one of the bloodiest, if not the bloodiest, island battle in the war, with, I think, over 150,000 civilian casualties on Okinawa, about 100,000 Japanese casualties, mostly killed, and then about 50,000 US. So a long, drawn-out campaign over a number of months, and some of the toughest fighting of the Pacific Theater in this campaign here. So with that in mind, let's jump in and get started. Now, they're going to walk us through kind of a pre-turn one. These are kind of the starting options for the game. And one of the things about this game is that it's a card-based game. So you're going to get some options that are going to allow you to play different cards in different ways. And what it's talking about now are these game options here, which is the Americans may opt to change the initial battle plans and means. So if we look at what we get here, we're going to get 3 possible cards here. Either we can play this one, historical setup, which basically means this is exactly the way the historical setup was. Now, we could opt in for these, and this is a victory point based game. So you win by having more victory points than your opponent. And these here are going to be options where we can sacrifice some victory points to gain some advantages. Now, one other thing about this too. I am playing this game 95% blind. I played the first 3 turns twice to kind of get an idea for how the mechanics work and see how they compare to some of the other games in the series that I'm a little bit familiar with, but that's it. So we're going in completely blind to this. I think we're going to lose, but it should be interesting at least to see what happens here. Now, having said that, I would probably take this one replacements. This one seems pretty good to gain 1 replacement factor every turn for the entire game at the cost of 5 victory points. But we're going to pass on both of these, and we're just going to play the historical setup. And so we're going to pull it up here, drop it over there. So we're going to pass on those just because it's the first time I've played through the whole game, and we're just going to play it out the way it is historically. So then they're giving us cards. At the beginning of the game, they give us a card. Then I think each turn you get 1 more card, and I think in your hand you can hold a maximum of 10 in this game. So this is an artillery support giving us some bonuses in combat. So we'll just kind of stick that in our hand here, which we can see down here in the bottom left. And right now they're all grayed out because we can't play them because the game hasn't started. So we are done with the card draw stage of this kind of preliminary turn. They're giving us another card, just loading us up with presents here. And now again, we're getting some kind of introductory and kind of contextual information about the invasion of Okinawa here that relates to us in our game. So this is an option that we have as the 2nd Marine Division. So the 2nd Marine Division is a floating reserve for us, and it comes available on turn 2, and it's available until turn 10. And if we use them, we pay a high cost. We lose 5 victory points, and Japan gains 10 victory points. So it's a 15 victory point swing for this, but I think we're going to take this because I want all the troops that we can get. So we'll probably take that when it becomes available. Now we can see we get a turn end here, and that basically says that the preliminary turn here has ended. And what I want to do now before we kind of continue on is just to kind of give an overview of what we're looking at here. So this is the island of Okinawa, and we can see over here on the right, there's some other islands that I think we're going to have to take as part of this kind of a separate little invasion. And then there's connected areas here like this Monotobu Peninsula and then North Okinawa and Ryukyu, which somehow we have to take these, and I'm not quite sure the mechanics for doing so there. But the bulk of the campaign, the 42 turns, we're going to invade up here on the north, kind of the north shore eastern side, if you would, the northeastern part of the island, with a couple of, I think it's 2 Marine divisions and a division of U.S. Army forces. And then each one of these little Japanese flags is an area, and this is an area control game, an area movement game, where we're going to basically try to take these areas and wrest them away from the Japanese forces and make our way over the whole island, covering and conquering the whole island before the end of the scenario is up. Roughly speaking, I think we're going to push south and east with the Marines and send the army west, and then eventually bring everything in the western part of the island. And this, the western, I think actually kind of connects a little bit more southern, but this is where the heaviest fighting was in the war, and some of the bloodiest fighting, because Japanese forces kind of, the north was tough, but the south was where it really got hard. So that's kind of the overall picture. We're going to have some battleships and air force off the shore to help with our kind of combined arms efforts here. And with that, we'll end this kind of preliminary turn. And Japan's going to get the same options we get. And we can see here that, so they looks like they have option cards too. So the AI might play one of those option cards. And they did. We can tell that because the top left part of the screen has the current score. We'll see this in a second here as we get going. So this basically just gives us a summary. We're going to click through that. Our new card is a depot. Oh, this is nice. We can play a depot because we're going to talk about supply, which is going to be handy. Now in the top left, just kind of for informational purposes, we can see the current score. And it's US 7, Japan 2. Before the Japanese turn, it was 7-7. They spent 5 victory points to play one of their option cards. Now, we don't know what that is, but it's going to give them a little bit of advantage at the cost of some of those 5 victory points there. So, with that being said, the card draw phase is over. And let's go now to the next phase. And we are in U.S. Navy fire support. So U.S. Navy ships support the battle with heavy gunfire. And we will have that pretty much every turn. And as well, we have U.S. Army Air Force, so we're going to have air support as well. And now they're basically just showing us this naval fire that's going to be available for us on the first turn. Now, this is important because this is telling us what we need to do. So we have to take the whole island, but they're going to kind of guide us through some objectives along the way. So the first objectives here are assault objectives and talking a little bit about supply. This is kind of important to know contextually. So the initial landings will be in supply through the beachheads, but the 2 port villages in the landing zone, Chatan and Furigen, are critical support sources of supply. These ports are supply sources and must be controlled before moving inland. So our number 1 objective, land on the beach, take Chatan and Furigen. So that's our kind of very short-term objective. And now they're going to give us some very important, this is I think set for this game itself. I think supply varies over the different games, but this is important for us to know because supply lines in the north are challenging. We have to maintain a continuous line of supply links from our beachhead at most 5 regions apart. And these links consist of ports, airfields, villages, and supply units, depots or supply units. And we did get that depot card, which could come in handy for us. Additionally, you may need, this is a little bit of a warning, you may need to keep a battalion of troops near the supply line, as roving Japanese militia and Boeitai can easily disrupt the chain. Okay, so our back lines may never be safe. Kamikaze raids, so pretty much every turn, we're going to get hit by kamikaze raids that are going to cause us aircraft losses here. And now I think, yeah, this is going to basically hit us. So here we go. They're taking us out already. It says targets 3 out of 3. So 3 of our Air Force squadrons here have sustained damage and kamikaze raids already before we even start. So, okay, air and naval bombardment. Now, so what we're going to do now, we are going to basically allocate air and naval bombardment on some of these zones here to help with the landings. Combined arms is key. And how we do this, in case you've got the game, because this was one of the tricky things for me to figure out. So if I click up here on the battleships, and we're going to allocate naval bombardment first, what pops up basically are these 6 fire orders, if you would, that appear down the bottom of the screen right beside me here. Now, we don't want to combine all 6 together. I actually want to scatter 6 out. So we have to split these up. And to split them up, you just click on it. It gives you some information about it. And then right over here at the right side of this row of 6 of them, we get these arrows that are pointing both ways. And it says create a new stack containing the selected units. So we're going to click that, and that's going to split that fire order into a single fire order. So now we've got one with 4. We're going to click here. I don't know why that one didn't work. That, click again. Split again, and I don't know why that one. Oh, well, anyway, it seemed to work. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we are going to allocate some bombardment. I'm going to right-click on any one of these, and then I'm just going to click on the zone that I want it to hit, and we can hear the ships firing, and we can see the naval bombardment is going to take effect here. Now, this is going to execute when we execute battle. We can also see that we've got a pillbox in here too, so that gives a rough idea of what we're going against now. So I'm going to break away here and allocate the other 5 fire orders from our battleships, and then we'll be back. All right, so we've just kind of scattered out our targets. I also want to hit, because I played this earlier, it's going to give us our goals here. This is basically of utmost importance so that we take these 2 airfields we can see behind the beachhead. So our first goal is going to be to take Furigen and Chatan to establish some supply ports. Then we're going to need to push inland to take Yomitan Airfield and Kadena, I think it's called. So I did drop a little bit of naval firepower on here because that might be a strong point. Now I'm basically going to go through now, and over here, if we look, I'll just scroll over to the left here. We have air bombardment too. And we have 14 squadrons, a couple of which have been damaged by kamikaze already. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on 2 of these aircraft and split them off into their own squadrons and basically carve these up into 7 different attacks and then allocate those in the same way that I did the naval firepower. So once I get that done, I'll be back. All right, so we've allocated our air attacks here. Now, for one reason, one squadron was unable to participate. I don't know if it's because it got damaged because of the kamikazes, but we carved these up into 7 attacks, mostly of 2 squadrons, one with 1 squadron, and kind of scattered them all over and slightly inland from our landing zones here to see if we can do as much damage as possible and engage as much of the enemy as possible. So now we've finished allocating our air. Actually, wait, we might have a little bit more air bombardment over here too, I think. We have some more over here. Where is it? Over here. Luzon? We do. Okay, let's get these guys in here too. So I'm going to allocate these as well. All right, so we got the rest of them all allocated here. Now we're done with our air and naval bombardments. So we're going to go to the next phase, land movement. And so this is an informational, contextual kind of newspaper blurb, again, talking about amphibious ops casualties. So basically that means before our units get to shore, we're going to suffer a certain amount of casualties that we really can't do anything about. So here we're going to see, 8. That's a lot. The last time when I played this first turn, last times we usually got 5 or 6. So 8's pretty bad damage for us here. So here we go. Our initial objectives. Upon successful landing, the objectives of U.S. forces are Yontan and Kadena airfields. Japan will receive 1 victory point per turn for all of these objectives while they're until they're U.S. controlled. Both airfields must be controlled and held at the end of turn 3. So we got to get our move on here. So basically, we're going to try to get ashore as quickly as we possibly can, drive in and capture these airfields while taking Chatan and the ports of Furigen and Chatan, of course. So what we're going to do now is roughly the same kind of thing. Now, this one here, we don't really have the option to split up where we're going to land. So basically, all we're going to do to move these, should be the U.S. Army, I believe it is. Yeah, United States Army coming in ashore here. We're just going to drag all of them and have them go right in here. We don't have too much control over where they go. That should have triggered a little bit better. Let's do that. There we go. So now they're all in here. One thing that we do want to be a little careful, if I click on the icon on the right-hand side, we get the stacking limits for every hex. So these stacking limits on the beaches are 9, and we can see now that we've attacked with 9 units, we've sent 9 units in there. We can't put any more, but that's the only place where those army units can go. So now what we're going to do is allocate, I believe these are Marines here. Get the Marines. Oh, this is an army as well. We can split these up. We can send some here and some here. So I think I'm going to kind of split these up and maybe even try to drop some on Furigen itself to see if we can kind of get better chances to take more ground. So I'm going to split these up and then we're going to allocate all of our landings and then we're going to execute them. All right, so pretty simple land movement for this first turn. Basically, it's just throw everything ashore. But we did split up we split up the Marines, which are up here on kind of the the right side of our invasion beaches, and then the Army have the central and the left. We split them up as best we can, and we can see now that if we kind of come along here, we've got attacks in all of these different places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, coming ashore in 7 places. And then we do have some air attacks and naval fire hitting behind the beaches, try to soften up some of the defensive positions behind the beachheads here. Now, the beaches in Okinawa are lightly defended, so I'm expecting we're going to see good success here. But now what we're going to come to is the combat phase. And actually, before we go to the combat phase, if you've not seen one of these before, I take a moment here and I'll just explain some of the way the combat and the units work and what we're looking at with a unit here. So let's take, for example, we are looking now at some Marine Corps forces here. And if I hover over these down on the bottom, we can see the informational card about the unit. There's a number of bits of information that are very important. First up, if we look at the kind of by the Marine's foot here on the left side, we can see 6 white squares. These are basically the steps that the unit has. So right now, this one's at full strength, 6 out of 6 steps, 100%. As units suffer damage, they're going to go down to 2, 1, and then 0. And we want to avoid losing units completely because I think the Japanese get victory points for wiping out our units. So that's one thing that we always want to be careful of, is to make sure that we're not going to be suffering casualties to the point we're going to start losing units. We're going to need to pull them back, get them replacements and reinforcements and stuff like that. Now, in the bottom of the counter itself, so we can see the row of counters down there. On the bottom of the counter, there's 4 numbers that are important. And on the very left side of the corner, we can see a black 1 with a white square behind it. That's the unit's stacking value. So again, we can see that a lot of these hexes have a stacking limit of 9. Some are going to be less as we get to different mountainous places and stuff like that. But if it's got a stacking limit of 9, this would contribute 1 stacking point to that 9-point limit. Then the middle numbers, the 4 and the 3, are the offensive firepower, which is a 4, and then the defensive rank, which is a 3. So that's the value of these units offensively and defensively. And then the right-hand side in the bottom right corner is the movement of the unit. And we can see these units right now have a movement factor of 0 because they've all moved to the limit of their ability. And basically all you can do when you're landing is it takes all their movement to get ashore. That's everything right there. Now there's one other number that's very important. You can see it up on the card, and we can also see it on the unit itself. It's in the top right corner. It's got that 4 on a purple diamond. And that's the unit's morale. As a unit fights and suffers casualties and has things go wrong, the morale goes down and goes up and different things like that. And the higher the morale, the longer and the better the units are going to be able to fight. So we always want to try to keep our morale up. And there's going to be a number of events that probably happen over the course of the campaign to raise or lower our morale. So that's something we want to keep an eye on as well, to kind of keep the Japanese morale as low as possible and to keep our morale as high as possible in order to be able to fight effectively. And other than that, you get a lot of kind of color information on it, just kind of background information. But those are the big numbers to know. And then now as we go here, we've completed our land movement, and we'll see how all these things act out. We're going to go to the battle detail stage. So if I scroll through here, these are all the battles that we've set up, and we can see kind of where they are. Chatan, and then these different grid numbers. Every one of the sectors in the game has a grid. So we're going to go through now United States versus Japanese Empire. We're landing on Chatan. This is one of our first objectives. We're going to let this battle play out. And to do that, I'm going to click on this right arrow here, and it's going to take us to the battle. And now we're given the option of playing some attacker cards. But very important, is on the bottom of the battle screen here, we can see to that right hand side, we can see a 2%. Now, if I get out of the way like this, there, we can see the cards are in the way too, but there's a 98% behind me. And basically, we can tell in the video because the 2% is whatever's left of 100. So the 98% are our chances of winning this battle. The 2% are the Japanese chances of winning this battle. And the game's giving us an option to play one of our cards. We could play flamethrowers, close air support, or direct naval fire. And we have 7 cards right now. But with a 98% chance of victory, we want to save our cards for some tougher battles. I'm just going to click on the pass. And now Japan may play some defender cards. They did. Low visibility. All enemy air units suffer a -3 combat penalty in this battle. So that's going to make our air forces struggle here. We have 3 coming in, which is okay. But now we're going to carry out the battle. And basically we do this by clicking on the middle. We're going to see the results kind of come down the middle. And if you wait, it just kind of goes off. We can see the air support totally missed because it's foggy weather and things like that. But we're all going up against this one pillbox. There's not much defending this beach. The battleships fired. They all missed. Oh, that's not a good start for us. Now, air support, infantry coming in and firing. Miss, miss, miss. We got one hit. Our infantry suffered a hit too. That's not good with so many forces here. Hopefully we take it out now. Yes, there we go. So victory to the United States. We wiped out that pillbox, and our Marines are ashore. Now, what I'm going to do now is to kind of keep this moving along. I'm going to go through and play through these other battles. If I see a big one or an important one, I'll pull it up, and I'll probably pull up one where we just have air or naval support. So I'm going to go and execute these, and then we'll take a look at what happens at the end of these battles here. Oh, here's one, actually, that is good to work. Right, so we got our naval fire on the airfield, and this we can see what we've got to defend now. So we get an idea what's there. They got trenches, a log bunker, and militia, and the naval fire did nothing. We completely missed there. So yeah, so that's going to be a tough battle. We're going to have to get some forces up there to take over that. Militia's not that strong, but still, there were a lot of them there, and they're in trenches, so they're dug in. Okay. Here's another one. We've just got air attack against these obstacles. This will probably not hit anything. Yeah, we're going to keep missing. Oh, we did it. We hit it. Nice. Good work to our Army Air Force wing there. All right. Here is more. We've got naval fire trying to hit these obstacles. This can be hit or miss. Can't get the pun, maybe. Oh, nice. Our Air Force putting on a show here. So that's good. We've wiped out those. And maybe I'll just go through this turn. Here we have air units, no ground units. So we're just going to try to take out that... Oh, 2 hits. Usually, I've found naval and air forces don't really have that much effectiveness by themselves. And you might get 1 hit, but to get 2 hits like that with 2 squadrons, that's good work by our Air Force there. Nicely done. Now, here is another landing one. And again, our odds are 96%. So we're not going to pass. We're not going to play one of our cards. We've got battleships firing on it. They all missed. We've got literally 5. I think these are battalion level, perhaps. Yeah, these are battalion level units. So we get 5 battalions on a pillbox. I'm hopeful we can clear it. Yeah, we did suffer some casualties. You can see that -1 click up on us there. Let's go through these. You kind of, for the first turn, we can kind of do this. We've got Air Force trying to hit those obstacles. That would be nice to clear those out of the way, honestly. Miss, miss, miss. Nice. You hit it. Our Air Force really putting on a show today. Frutigen, this is the other port that we need to take. This may be... Nope, just a pillbox there. And again, we're going to save our cards. Don't want to use those. Battleship fire, maybe get a hit. Yes, we did with the battleships. Dialing it in. Our infantry push ashore. We do suffer some casualties, but we've taken the port of Frutigen. Now we've got a bunch more. I'm going to just kind of play through these and come back if there's anything interesting to show us here. So we went through, we had a few more pillboxes on the beaches, but basically to the same result. Our forces pushed through and was able to establish a beachhead. So we've got all of our Marines and Army ashore, knocked out the pillboxes, the lightly defended beaches, and we've got our beachhead somewhat in a kind of scattered and haphazard format. Now I want to show this land battle results because if we want to look at any one of these battles in more detail, we can see the results here. We had 4 hits, victory points +1 because we took, that was an objective. It had a star on it. So we did get a victory point for that. And we can see in the top left, our total's gone up to 9 right now. So we were at 7. We got 2 that were victory points, probably Frutigen too. Yes. So we can see in here the results from Frutigen. We got another victory point. Because it's a structure, we got 1 more. So we're up to 9 victory points. And if we want to see the details of what happened, we can click on that details button. And here we can see the pillbox destroyed during the Battle of Chatan. It took -2. And our units, did we suffer any casualties? Yep, -1. So this 2nd Battalion, 382nd Regiment suffered -1. And we can see their strength now, their steps. It went from 6 down to 5. They're at 83%. So we can see, basically you can dive into detail on any battle and see what happened in terms of this. And there's a die roll modifier. It's kind of a very board game kind of based element to it where the die rolls have to be low enough to be able to take out units and things like that. So some randomization in there. So those are all our results, but we kind of have a rough idea what happened to them. So we'll just do that. Now our air forces go back. Air base, and we've got an air defense move where basically we can put air support over some of our beachheads and some of our units in much the way we allocate air firepower. This is just going to be in case the Japanese attack us on the beaches, and I'm going to go do that now because I have no idea really how aggressive the Japanese are going to try to be at attacking our forces here. Probably put some up over Frutigen and Chatan, just trying to keep them safe. So I'll go ahead and allocate that now, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we've allocated some air defense over our beaches, over Chatan, Frutigen, and some of the headquarter units of our Army and Marine divisions. So we're going to end that phase. And we do have a replacement option. I do want to mention this now too, because each turn we're going to get a number of replacement points. We can see the heart in the bottom left, right beside my head here. It says 2 left. So I think that's assuming we're going to get 2 replacement factors per turn. Now, when we spend one of those replacement, we bring a unit back up to 100% to full strength. And if we don't spend them, they carry over to subsequent turns. So right now we can see on these blue numbers that it's going to cost us 1 replacement point to get 1 replacement point because this unit is at 83% strength right now. So that's not very effective use of those points. So at the moment, I'm going to wait until we get units that are really beat up, that get down to like 1 or 2 strength before I start to spend replacement points on them, because it doesn't really make sense to spend them just to get this 1 strength point back. So we're going to pass on replacements right now. And now it's prompting us for the turn end. We do that, and now it goes to the Japanese turn. This is their summary that's given to the Japanese player, but we're hands off here. This is all AI and things like that. So we're going to let the Japanese player play now. Ushijima Determination. All Japanese units receive +1 morale this turn. Okay, so we can see this is a case again where there's going to be a trickiness involved to it, that morale can swing based on some different events and stuff like that. And we can see the Japanese forces moving around, but they made no attacks. Here's the summary of what happened since the last turn, and we can see that the Japanese victory point total has gone from 2 to 3 because they still control all of those 2 airfields that we were told to take in order to prevent them getting 1 victory point per turn. So at the end of turn 1, as we go to turn 2 now here, we are leading 9 to 3. The Japanese, of course, spent 5 victory points to get those, at some kind of an optional bonus that we don't know what it is. So that's the summary phase. We're done there. Now we get our card draws we start to, but it starts out here with Royal Navy or Navy Carrier Task Group. This is an option. We can include more air forces, but it will also increase kamikaze attacks from Taiwan. And if we do this, we get 5 Royal Navy combat air groups, but Japan gains more kamikaze attacks each turn. And I confess, I don't know what the plus minus is here. Like, is it worth it to get the combat air groups because it's going to mean, or are we just going to lose those over the course of the battle with kamikaze air attacks? So I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with that. US a little bit. Oh, it costs us 5 victory points, and Japan gets 3 victory points. This is a tough choice. And boy, Ty, this is a little historical flair here as we start the second turn, basically talking about Japanese conscripted forces that fought for the Japanese during the battle here. So a little bit of a historical point that flows through this. And these come up every now and then to kind of add to the context and kind of the historical kind of background of the battle that you're fighting, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to go through that. And now, 2nd Marines deployed. This is that card we can play to bring in our floating reserve of Marines, which we probably will do, but probably not do it right away because I want to clear our beaches first. Now, unless, one thought is maybe we can bring them in someplace else. I might take a look at that. Forced March. We get 1 stack and get +2 movement points. That's not really so helpful for us here because, yeah, I mean, we're not really going to be going that far, that fast yet, but it might be helpful later, right? All right, airbase return. Our combat air groups go back out to the carriers. We get reinforcements, which I don't think... Oh, we could do this. So reinforcements. We can play a depot. We're not going to do that. Place a depot marker in a friendly region that is... No, we're going to save that. Royal Navy carriers. I don't know what we're going to do in 2nd Marines deployed. And I think, though, with this... because we've finished the first turn and we're starting the second turn and we've done the background of the game and we've gone a little bit over, I think, about 30 minutes, right around there. That's right around what I want to get for the length. I think we're going to stop here and pick up the action in episode 2. Now, to keep this moving, I'm not going to play every turn because it's 42 turns. It would take forever to make a series. I think I'm going to do every second turn. So I'm going to talk about a turn, show it, unless something dramatic happens in that turn that I'm not showing. So we'll be back shortly. I'll put a link to it right here for episode 2, where we're going to continue on. We need to push past the landing beaches here, get inland and capture Kadena and Yomitan airfield as quickly as possible. And I'm probably going to try to play, I'm going to guess like 5 or 6 turns per episode. So we'll show 3 and then 3 will be the interim. And that'll get us through all of this in about 7 episodes. But it might take as many as 9 or 10 because stuff happens, right? But however long it takes, we're going to take. It's going to be a longer series just to kind of show this. And I've wanted to start playing some strategy games. So I think this is a really good place to start. And this looks like a really fun scenario. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon with a link here to episode 2. Take care, everybody. Bye.